Do you know that if you would make a DNA test of some of the most famous Sephardic rabbis, they would turn out to be, by today's standards, 100% Ashkenazi. They lived in Spain and they were European Jews. It is often thought that Sephardim and Ashkenazim are ethnic denominations, that the European Jews are Ashkenazi and the Jews of the Middle East are Sephardim. But in Hebrew, Sepharad is Spain, which is in Europe. So Sephardim have to be European. And Italian Jews, who obviously lived in Europe, are neither considered to be Ashkenazim nor Sephardim. Are you confused? Let's try to deconfuse ourselves. The historical difference between Sephardim and Ashkenazim is not ethnic, but the difference of religious denominations. I'll explain. From the time of immemorial, Jewish life has been based on the Torah, which has in it ethical rules, religious rituals, economic regulations, the laws of family relationships, and so on. In every community, there have always been yeshivas where these principles were taught, and rabbis who answered questions in all of these areas. But what if a question that the rabbi of your community was getting was too difficult? The local rabbi consulted with experts in other cities. What if a student desired something more than his local yeshiva was able to offer? He was sent to a more advanced school in another city. Thus, there was a natural appearance of intercommunal centers for Torah and Jewish law. When Jews first settled in the Holy Land, such center was Shiloh, then it was Jerusalem, then it was Sura and Pampedita in Babylonia. After the expulsion of the Jews from Israel, they were looking to create a center of the Torah in their new lands. But the countries of their dispersion were divided into Christian and Muslim. Because of the infighting between these two religions, communication between those living in their territories was very difficult and sometimes even impossible. Jews needed to create independent Torah centers in their respective halves of the world. For the Jews who were living in Christian countries, this center became the yeshivas of Western Germany and northeastern France. Rabbeinu Gershom, Rashi, Baal HaTurim lived there. According to the Torah's chronicle, the inhabitants of that region descended from a great-grandson of Noach named Ashkenaz. And in Jewish tradition, this area is called, therefore, Ashkenaz. Jews whose main teachers were the rabbis of this region became Ashkenazim. For the Jews of Muslim lands, the center of the Torah became then Islamic Spain, where Alfasi, Rabbeinu Bechia, Ibn Ezra, and Rambam lived. Sepharad is Spain in Hebrew, but Sephardim are not people from Spain, but those who come from the communities whose teachers were the rabbis of Spain. Just like Ashkenazim are not Jews who once lived in Germany or France, but those who follow the teachings of the rabbis from these regions. This can be compared to me being called a Lubavitcher Chassid. My ancestors did not live in the village of Lubavitchi. I am a Lubavitcher because I follow the teachings of the Rebbes from the town of Lubavitch. So our Sephardim and Ashkenazim are called this way because they come from communities that were following the rabbis of Sepharad, Spain, and Ashkenaz, Germany and France. It is true that most of Jews in Arab countries are Sephardim, but not all. It is true that most of Jews in Europe are Ashkenazi, but also not everyone. The division between those groups is based on schools of Torah teaching and not on DNA.